every business exists on this spectrum. And the CEO is the person who oversees that marketing machine, right? He owns the marketing machine. And so that's fundamentally the model with which you have to understand, okay, this is a theory of business. Now, there's so many things that we can track to measure. How's my marketing machine, those four things, how is it working, right? You can measure it through the profit, through the number of leads, the quality of leads. And there's so many ways of measuring that, but this can give you a foundation for understanding how it all fits together.
It is incredibly empowering to have tools that strengthen your ability to make the right decisions and take the right path when you're trying to grow a practice. What we often see, however, is our clients become hyper-focused on a single thing rather than understanding that the data that they need to look at needs to cover every aspect of their business so they can accurately determine whether the problem is really the problem. And as an example, by the time we get clients, they're very focused on my marketing is not working, I'm not getting enough leads, or the quality of the lead is terrible. And those are things they track. They love to see how many people are pitching up and how many people are we closing. However, they aren't tracking things that go before that. So they aren't looking at the whole story. They aren't looking at how much are they spending to drive their leads? What is the ratio of the number of leads that they're getting for that spend? They're not adapting their budget to impact on the issue. So the thing to remember here is that data doesn't happen in isolation. You can't just look at one thing without understanding that context, because the context is what gives you enough information so that you can make the right choices and the right decisions and focus on the things that are ultimately going to help you grow.
And Jennifer, I know you had some thoughts on that, but there's two things I wanted to say. Number one is, just in case you guys haven't been, initiated into the beautiful South African accent that Tracy has and her nuances, when she says pitching up, I had to be like, what does that mean when I first got to know her? But that means showed appointments. When you have the context, right? Like one of the most common questions that I ask people. So they'll come to me and they're talking about what they think is not working in their business. And they'll say things like, I want my marketing to be better, or I want better leads, or I want people who want to buy from me, right? Something like that. One of the most common questions I have to ask is, okay, what business problem are we solving? I need to, what is the business problem? And when somebody says, I need better marketing, what I know is they don't understand their business. Because what you would be doing is you would be speaking in the language of numbers, because the language of numbers is business. And you would say, the business problem I am solving is that I had 60 booked appointments and only 20 of them showed up, right? And so statistically, I only have a 33% show rate for my appointments. It's costing me $200 per booked appointment. And when only 1 out of 3 of them shows up, that means it costs me $600 to get a showed appointment. And if I'm only converting half of them, that then means it costs me $1,200 to make a sale. And my average client value is only $1,000. So therefore, I'm not profitable, right? So you can put it into the language of business. And that's one of the most common questions I have to ask people is, what business problem are we solving? I need to understand your business. And you can't have those conversations if you don't understand the numbers.
Right. In order to start understanding the numbers, and this is the point I was going to make, is you have to think about it through the lens of the patient journey, right? So how does someone get to even know you exist on the planet? How are they interacting with you? What is your first touch point with them? We do track, and especially in healthcare and clinics, patient touch points, but we started at a very late process. When you start to do the patient touch points at the very beginning, and you track that data of the patient touch points there in the beginning, rather than, later on when we're doing fulfillment, Then it builds a story. You get the same numbers. You're already tracking data. So we're just talking about for lead generation, you track the data at the very beginning of your touch points with your patient or your potential patient.
Yeah, exactly. I think what I want to do is just to give a little bit more context, right? Okay, so now you have a theory of how business works, right? Or you have a theory of at least understanding the structure of a business as a marketing machine. So I think the next step is to say, now you need a theory of how do you optimize that business structure? How do you actually look and decide what should I work on? What's the problem I should fix first before looking for the next problem to fix, right? Instead of leaving at, I want to fix my marketing, let's talk about what specifically about your marketing isn't working in the language of